Hi, my name is Zetta Elliott, and I am the author of Sin's Mark. And when I heard that BookFest wanted us to do a scary reading, I knew I wanted to share a little bit of this story. It's about a 13-year-old boy named Taj. He lost his uncle. Unfortunately, his uncle died, and he earns a little extra money by walking his neighbor's dog, Freddie. So he takes Freddie to the cemetery. And while he's there, he goes 3 days a week. He stops by his uncle's grave and just kind of talks about what's happening in his life. And one day, Taj is at the cemetery and he sees two people, a little boy who looks like he's wearing striped pajamas and a woman. And they're both a little bit strange. And Taj has never been afraid in the cemetery before, but after he has an encounter with these two, he definitely starts to feel scared. Sin follows a path only she can see. I frown. And you wait here until she's done? The boy nods. I like it here. It's quiet. I like it here too, I tell him. I come 3 times a week, but I've never seen you before. No one sees me. That's the second time he said that. I shiver and set Freddie down so I can put my coat back on. Freddie cautiously sniffs the grass around the boy's feet, which surprises me. This dog doesn't usually respect people's boundaries. Think your dog can smell me? Asks the boy. Sure, dogs have a really strong sense of smell. The boy tugs at his ankles, keeping his feet out of reach. But the shine in his eyes tells me he's not afraid. You can pet him if you want, I say. Freddie loves a good belly rub. That brings a smile to his face, but when the boy keeps his hands clamped around his ankles, I squat down and give Freddie the belly rub he was hoping for. I had a dog once, he tells me with a smile, but Matron chased him away. She said he'd bring fleas into the almshouse. We already have lice, bedbugs too. Almshouse? What's that? I ask. It doesn't sound like any place I'd want to be. The boy watches Freddie loll on the grass and finally reaches out a hand. But instead of petting the dog, he uses his fingertips to trace the outline of Freddie's tail. The almshouse is where all the paupers go, and the orphans, and the lunatics, and cripples like me. A kid his age would only call himself that if he heard other folks saying it too. I didn't appreciate our neighbors poking their noses in our business, but I'm starting to think this kid might need help. I take a closer look at the boy's clothes. They definitely look like the kind of cheap gear the government would hand out. Maybe he's talking about some kind of group home? I've heard stories about those places. That's why I have to fix Mama. If she gets any worse, a group home is where I might end up. What's this place called? I ask. Blockley, he says without looking me in the eye. A lot of apartment complexes have names, but I've never heard of one by that name. Is it close by? Blockley used to be on the river, but it's not there anymore. So where do you live now? Here. Here? In the cemetery? The boy nods again, but his eyes are locked on Freddie. His fingers hover just above the dog's fur. He sighs and says, "He's so warm." Freddie is warm, but I'm not. Despite having my coat on, I shiver violently and turn to find a woman walking towards us. Actually, she almost seems to glide over the ground because her long dress hides her feet. It's made from the same striped fabric as the boy's clothes. The two don't look like they're related, but they definitely look like they came from the same place. I hear the word echo in my mind. Blockley. It's hard to tell from this distance, but the way she holds herself makes me think the woman's taller than me. She weaves around the tombstones in her path without once ever taking her eyes off mine. She's already speaking despite the distance between us, and somehow I can hear every word. It's almost like I'm reading her lips, or that the wind is carrying her thoughts directly to me. The one you love is no longer here. He chose another path. The time has come for you to choose yours. I know what you seek. A way can be found to every world. Just return to me what is mine. The boy looks up at me and then peers around the grave to see what has turned me to stone. When he sees the woman, his face changes too. I better go, he says with regret. With a quick hop, he gets to his feet, tucks his crutch under his arm, and makes his way toward the woman. He moves quickly with a smooth, swinging motion, but turns to say, "Promise you'll come back?" The Woodlands isn't a scary place. You're even allowed to have a picnic here. They hold special events on the weekends and even show movies sometimes. There's an annual Halloween party for little kids. I've never been afraid here, not even after the sun's gone down. But the dark woman gliding through the graves has got me fighting the urge to run. Freddie starts whimpering again, and he's frantically circling my feet. I want to flee, but it feels like I'm anchored to the ground. Only it's not the dead holding on to me. It's the woman. Promise? The boy's desperate plea somehow breaks her spell. I promise, I tell him, before scooping Freddie up and hurrying toward the front gate. The paved road slopes downward, and I'm walking so fast I overtake an elderly jogger. I don't want to, but feel compelled to look over my shoulder. I see the woman moving toward the boy with her hand outstretched. She strokes his face, and together they weave through the graves until they're out of sight. As soon as we pass through the cemetery gates, Freddie starts acting like his usual self again. A passing student kicks a prickly chestnut, and Freddie howls as the nut rolls by. The soft clang of the trolley's bell reassures me somehow. The air feels warm again, and with the setting sun in my eyes, I let Freddie guide me home. So if you want to learn more about Taj and the two ghosts that he meets in the cemetery, check out Sin's Mark. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Bookfest. Bye.